Satnam, Satnam, and welcome on this very beautiful week of new beginnings, major new beginnings, as we welcome today's new moon in beautiful Pisces, mystical Pisces, that can absolutely keep us in the realm of the spirit of channeling the divine, while at the same time we feel the pressure of grounding ourselves in the truth and reality of creating a strategy or creating an actual plan to execute and to birth whatever it is that is coming through with this new moon. So welcome, Satnam, Grass Dancer 7, Satnam, welcome, and thank you for being here live. Welcome. How's everyone doing on this beautiful new moon in Pisces? We have so much to talk about because this new moon is going to give us a brand new start for many of us that are looking to just launch projects, to really step into your truth in a way that is authentic and absolutely from your heart space and from this vision that you've been receiving, but also in a way that is grounded and actually created in the 3D, because it doesn't help anyone if you're just dreaming about it, right? But this new moon can give us a lot of opportunity for that and to create some of our biggest dreams into a reality. So we'll be talking today about this very mystical, beautiful reality check new moon in Pisces, which will also help us understand today's topic, which is the third Mayan prophecy. It's a very important Mayan prophecy that you can relate to exactly personally, that you can see how this is playing out in the collective and how it also is playing out in your personal life. And with today's solution, which is what I call the medicina, A Course in Miracles spiritual psychotherapy, as well as a kundalini yoga meditation and discussion around what the heart chakra is, which will give you the solutions to not only thrive during these very fast changing times, but to really use these prophecies as guidance to level up and make these next decisions for this next cycle of your life. Because just in case you didn't notice, all of us are transforming faster than ever. And this is just the beginning. So before we get going, I want to make sure I take my time. I go a little bit slower. I speak Spanish as my first language. So Spanish is very, very fast and quick. And I remember for a long time, I think it was like 6 years when I was a real estate broker, I went to this organization called Toastmasters. Let me know in the chat here on Instagram, on Facebook, and in the podcast or on YouTube if you've ever been to Toastmasters. But I went to Toastmasters for like 4 years every week. And I even got really involved in leadership, where I became president of my club and president of my side of town. It was I did a lot. And what it helped me do is to learn how to, for anyone who's having fears around public speaking or fears around just speaking even in a meeting, you really need to check out this organization because it's so affordable to join. And it also is just so powerful and really helping you learn the art of public speaking. So I went there. So if some of you think that I speak fast right now, this is nothing compared to the way I used to speak. But most of the time it's because I get really excited. And I promised myself that with all we're talking about today, especially because it's a new moon in Pisces, that I would slow down and really just allow myself to make sure that I'm answering your questions in the comments, number one, and to really segment our podcast episodes. Because as you know, this show is dedicated to you all twice a week, where Monday we go over our energy update for the week, astrology. We're going to go over today ancestral guidance that was received through a daily or a weekly oracle card that I picked from my shamanic oracle cards. We're also going to talk about this third Mayan prophecy that's very important for us to understand how it's already coming into reality and how we can help really sail the ship in the way of healing, love, and transformation. And then we're also going to talk about the solution, which is, well, what do we do about all of this? Which is why the practice of kundalini yoga meditation and A Course in Miracles spiritual psychotherapy, those are the relics. I shared this quote in my stories today that having the knowledge and the discovery of Mayan astrology and Mayan prophecy, plus kundalini yoga and meditation, plus A Course in Miracles spirituality is like having an escape or a direct pathway from the plague that is really harming so many humans in this world. because in case you didn't notice, there's a higher rate of mental health instabilities, of depression, of suicide, of overdoses. I read a really alarming rate last week about this overdose situation we have with fentanyl, this pill that has spread throughout the world and throughout especially the United States. How last year in 2022 there were, just in 2022, 100,000 deaths in one overdose deaths from this fentanyl pill. That I did the math, and that's 263 people that are dying of overdoses of fentanyl every single day. And no one is like talking about this. That doesn't even include the suicides, the rise in mental health. And this is just the beginning of it. A lot of the astrology, which is what we're going to talk about today, which, by the way, I don't know if any of you knew, but back like hundreds of years ago, astrology is the oldest science. But in order for you to be a doctor, you had to study astrology. So understanding astrology has helped me understand the state of mental health for humanity and also where it's going, as well as kundalini yoga. Because with astrology, we're going through some major shifts and transitions, which we're going to talk about today. In this new moon in Pisces, we're feeling that change and transformation and that pressure, because it's a pressure to change from within. And Pisces is a very emotional, mystical, spiritual sign. And this is what we're evolving to be, spiritual beings from just physical beings, right? But we are not learning how to integrate that, and it's creating a fear in the way we experience life, because it's changing so quickly. So people are really disconnected, and they're delusional, and they're fearful of how the world is changing so quickly. And it's creating a lot of mental health issues. And this is like just the peak of it. Next month, we're going to finally, the sign of Saturn is finally going to move fully into Pisces. And this is a major transition, because now Saturn, karma, ground yourself, leadership, the old ways, they're going to want to be instilled, but yet the new is here. And it creates a lot of pressure to change from within, which causes a lot of anxiety, nervous breakdowns, and it causes a lot of pressure on our nervous systems. So the way we dealt with stress has nothing compared to the way we need to deal with it in today's new frequency and vibration of consciousness. And so this new moon in Pisces is really showing us how this has peaked, and how we need to really come into our truths about how we can either reach out for help or really just accept that this is where we're at, so we can actually begin the process of healing, because there's also a lot of great things that are coming down the horizon that we need to really focus on, which we'll talk about today, especially with the prophecy that we're talking about. So each week, what we've been doing is talking about these prophecies. So first, let's talk about the astrology of the new moon so you can understand today's prophecy. So today is a new moon in Pisces. And the new moon this is the last new moon of this entire zodiac or astrological year. Pisces is the last sign in the astrology charts. And so now we're really entering into a new year. March marks the new year astrologically, marks it in so many other ways too, like of course with the equinox and the birth in spring and all these different things. So Pisces, here's the thing about these new moons, they mark always new beginnings, but this is like a super new moon, and you can feel it because of where it's positioned. So it's not just what the new moon is for any of you who are studying astrology or learning about astrology. So we look at where the new moon is positioned. So it's in Pisces. So then we look at the characteristics and the archetypes of Pisces, but it's not just that. It's also like, what are the surrounding planets doing that create basically a perfect storm or a perfect recipe for what the energies are in the collective consciousness. And that's how you use astrology, right? And so new moon in Pisces, the new moon is 1 degree of its sign. And this is the 4th new moon that is 1 degree of the sign it's in. That's kind of rare and also very symbolic of how big these new beginnings are. Like new beginnings in ended a relationship and starting a brand new one, or just ended a relationship period, a job, a business you closed down, or a job that you were let go of or you quit. very unexpectedly. It's beliefs. Now I don't believe this. I believe this now. Conviction, a lot of different things, because there's the shadow aspect of Pisces energy, and then there's the light aspect. That's why not everyone's experiencing the new moon in the same way, because the shadow aspect of Pisces is delusion, is like very, Pisces doesn't want to be of this world, so it numbs itself out. It likes to alter its consciousness. It likes to not ground itself in the body, right? There's feelings a lot of victimhood. I'm a victim. Look at what happened to me. That's very dangerous. Depression, disconnection. That's Pisces in the shadow side. For someone that is really not processing stress right now, or is not doing the inner healing work of connection with self and has an intimate relationship with the divine, which is the light side of Pisces, they're really feeling this negativity, right? This disconnection. Whereas in the light aspect of Pisces is the connection. It's the connection to the divine, it's guidance, it's very intuitive. Pisces is mystical and very dreamy, visionary. You can create a vision and create a beautiful life for yourself. And really, the help that we have right now is what's going to happen for permanently next month on March 7th, I believe it is, where Saturn moves into Pisces for the next 3 years. Is Saturn is hanging out around Pisces right now in this new moon. So the reason we're feeling uncomfortable is because many of us are feeling in the light aspect of Pisces, where we have these big visionary dreams. We've got a lot of clarity of where we're going in our life, but we feel the pressure. And the reason that we feel the pressure, and this is why astrology is so perfect, as you can tell the story, is that Saturn is hanging out very close to the new moon. And Saturn is saying, I'm disciplinary. I'm also structure. How are you going to make this dream a reality? How are you going to bring it into the 3D? What do you need to do to structure it so that you can birth it, so you can make it into the truth of what you're living? So we feel the pressure right now of like responsibility, of like, I have this dream or I have this vision for my life. Now what? Right now I have to like take action in this 3D world, and take action is very much supported because it's the new year. Now we're entering into a brand new astrological year. Now you really can set your new intentions for whatever it is you want to work with physically, spiritually, also mentally. But hold on, because in the ancestral guidance that I'm going to share with you here at the end of this podcast episode, it's not really about working on anything. It's really about awareness and actually looking at what already is amazing about you, which we're going to look at that right at the end, because that's what the ancestors are saying. They're like, you got to stop looking at it as if you're always working on yourself, and you have to start looking at it as evolution and growth, right? So like, I haven't reached my potential yet in my business, in my relationship, in my physical physique, in my mental state. I am inspired and ambitious, because you have to be ambitious to want change in your life. You have to be ambitious to stay committed to a spiritual practice. I am ambitious enough to want this new level of my life. I'm done with this old self, and I'm committed to doing what it takes to get there, because not because I'm trying to get approval, but because my soul desires this. My soul is ready for this level up. And you want to do that again, listen to God on the whisper, not on the shout, because I've seen people, especially in this week, that are not listening to that, or they're not accepting themselves fully where they're at, and they're resisting, and God is like really showing them in very sad, horrific, tragic ways. Health scares, relationship breakups, money blockages, situations where it just feels like you're stuck. That's because you're not being mindful enough to see that you're doing it backwards. I had to learn that a lot too. Like, I would always put so much energy and action into things, but I never got my mindset right, which is believing in myself, believing in what I was creating, right? And that was a lot of hard work that didn't need to happen. Where when you get into alignment and you get into connecting with why you're creating, what is the emotion, right? What is the feeling that it embarks upon people and on you that you're birthing this? If you get connected to that, then you will eliminate the ego, and you will get more into states of flow where you're like creating from a space of passion, right? Not a space of I need money, or I need people to love me, or I need my mom to approve of me, and all these other reasons why we do that. So we have this Pisces new moon that is allowing us to really make our dreams a reality, because all planets are direct right now. And because there's a big shift in consciousness that's happening next month, whether we like it or not. I'm just preparing you all for March, because the way we experience the world will be completely different. If Saturn is going to be in Pisces the entire next 3 years, all old structures will be again demolished in how we experience time, how we experience the world. And this can create a lot of mental health issues, because people are not going to be able to sustain all the changes and the pressure, because their reality, they're going to feel like, well, what is the reality? What is truth? Which is why, again, your biggest flex is always going to be a deep, intimate relationship with God, whatever that means to you, with the divine within you, the inner work, what I call the shadow work. This is what we go through in my academy, in the Sovereign Woman Academy. It's working through the language of our ancestors, which are our engraved programs in our DNA, which are our emotions, to learn to become so self-aware of self that we learn how to alchemize and process emotions instead of identifying and making them like we are that. We learn to work with energy, which is emotions, through tantric practices like kundalini yoga and meditation, so that you can shift the emotions of rage, of anger, of neglect, of a separation, of lack of self-worth, into, we want green emotions, which is gratitude, worth, self-appreciation, self-awareness, self-acceptance. And you have to work through that, through these practices, so that you can level up to unleash your true potential and get off the pattern of your ancestor pain, embody their gifts, because they also left us a ton of gifts that they're ready to share through you that they couldn't share, right? And the ones that you're opening up for yourself, that's another beautiful thing about Saturn and Pisces. Like, this is such a symbolic way of us seeing how we are moving from physical beings to spiritual beings, where we're experiencing the divine within us, not in a church, not through a guru, right? For me, it's about prayer and meditation in the morning, where I say a prayer of A Course in Miracles that allows me to get out of my way, which is the ego, and allow truly something bigger than myself to guide me, something more than the logical mind, which it takes a lot of self-acceptance and self-worth, because most of us don't want to let go of control. So we're always constantly believing we're alone in this world, and we're doing life alone, and we work so hard, not understanding our worth and our intrinsic value. So this moon is going to awaken all of these emotions in you. Pisces is very emotional. Pisces is a water sign, and we're living through extremes. Pisces is of the polarities of the dark and the light. Last week I was sharing how I went to Sedona for my husband planned this beautiful trip to Valentine's for Valentine's Day up there, and we had like a wonderful dinner, and him and I had like the best time in the world. Like, it was so perfect for us right before we embark on this beautiful journey on Saturday, where we're actually hosting our first cacao event together, which is a cacao ceremony and a Kundalini yoga experience in this really beautiful setting, and everything is just happening perfectly. And we went to Sedona, and Valentine's Day was just so magical. Sedona is always like the place to go for replenishment and to really just recalibrate your energy. Mother Earth is so healing, and especially there, it's literally a vortex. And so we had such an amazing time, and there was so much awareness and creativity. We got everything like down about our event and everything, and the intention is behind it. So we felt so good, and we were coming back from Sedona feeling like we're on cloud 9. And my mom calls me, and she tells me that we lost a second family member, and within 2 days, two of my family members transitioned from my dad's side of the family. And the second one was very, very shocking. And to this day, I think about it every single moment, and I pray every single moment for our family, for both of them, right? But it was like I was on this high, and then it was just like boom, a low. And that's exactly what happened when our wedding. We went to December, we were like on this incredible high. We had just done our wedding vows renewal, 25 years, and like I just was so centered and grounded, and I felt so at peace. Him and I were like so happy. And then we were driving. They told us the next day, as we were going to get ready to come home, that one of my cousins transitioned, and he was my age. He was somebody who I hung out with and grew up with. And it was just like, again, and it's just so important for us to really have a stable nervous system at these times, to really understand the polarities, the understanding the up and the lows, and there is no, if you have a healed mind, there is no judgment. There's center, you're a human being, and you can cry and have emotions of grief, but you don't stay in them. And the reason you don't stay in them is because when you have a stable nervous system, that means you're more conscious. That means that you're more present. You get a stable nervous system through meditation, by the way. That's the only way. So if you're more conscious and you're more present, that means that you have a more powerful relationship with the divine within you. So that means that you're connected. That means that when things like death occur, or people breakups, relations like divorces, you don't see them as bad. You see them as your teachers, as your healers. You don't even need a healer outside of you. That was such a great discussion that came up last week with one of you. I shared something in my stories. You were so deep. All of you were so powerful and so beautiful. Because one of the things that I shared on my stories was about how healers are not those that you go to and they heal you. Healers are those that basically show you the way back to you to activate that medicine inside of you so you can heal yourself. And she was commenting about that, and she sent me a message, and she says, well, would that mean a situation like an adversity or a challenge? Could that be a healer? Because she found that in those situations, like adversity and challenges, that actually those became her healers, her teachers. And I was like, 1,000%, that's badass. That's powerful. That means that you learned the lesson, because you are able to, it's not that we're enabling or we're denying, it's just that we're so emotionally strong. We have such a deep connection with the divine. We have done our inner work of looking at our shadow, knowing our shadow, accepting ourselves, not judging ourselves as much, right? Releasing the guilt, done that inner work. Then when stuff does go down, that you don't see it as a punishment. You don't go into victim mode, and you don't get more disconnected from God. That instead you go into that situation and you say, what can I learn from this situation? That's what a stable nervous system gives you. It's like life is still going to be life. People are still going to transition. But if you learn to respond to life, that makes you sovereign. It's like trauma is not what happens to you. It's because how we identify to it, because of our lack of or reaction to it, and because we don't know how to respond, because perhaps it happened to you as a young girl and you weren't given the space to be acknowledged and seen. And I get it. But our purpose of incarnation in this world, and that's what this new moon is especially showing us, is we are here to become the parents that we always wanted to have, period. We don't want to go on the shadow aspect of this new moon in Pisces and become a victim and blame everyone for all that is happening to us. Because if you are there, that's major awareness that needs to come to that, so that you can bring yourself back into taking your power and to saying, you know what, the pattern ends with me regardless of what it is. And thank you for the awareness. Now I can do something about it. And that's what this new moon is really doing for all of us. So the astrology is hot, and every week as it leads up to March 4th and March 7th, like I said, it's going to be really powerful. March is going to be, again, a month of just very fast, rapid change. The USA is going to go through its own Pluto return, which is a 243-year cycle. Everything the way you experience the world is just going to be completely different. So you really need to start to tune into yourself through meditation to get that guidance. And Saturn is going to support you in getting strategic about actually executing and putting out a plan to help you make it into a reality into this world. And so that leads us to the next part of today's podcast, which is the third Mayan prophecy that I want to talk about today, because it's really, really important as it relates to these changes that we're going through that I just mentioned with the new moon in Pisces today, as well as also the major changes that we're going to be seeing in March and, of course, for the next few years. So this prophecy that I wanted to talk about quickly is the prophecy known as the prophecy of Kaokan. Kaokan. And a lot of the stuff that you see on YouTube, and this is one of the things, like I was sharing with all of you, like the Mayan, the things that we know about the Mayan ancestors, a lot of it is incorrect. So you have to kind of dig and really connect. And some stuff has been given to me through meditation ever since I especially went to Palenque, Mexico, which stay tuned, everyone, because we are planning a retreat there with the very beautiful Mayan shaman, Mayan maestros, we'll call them that. I don't really like to call them shaman, but maestros, where we had a temazcal experience. So this is going to be happening in the solstice for sure, summer solstice. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and make sure you're part of my newsletter so you get notified on that first. But a lot of the information I have to kind of like piece together, and I have to like look at stuff on the internet. One big help that has been for me has been this book, which is the Book of Destiny, Unlocking the Secrets of the Ancient Mayans and the Prophecy of 2012, which is written by Carlos Barrios, excuse me. And Carlos Barrios is a Mayan elder. So he is somebody who is a member of the Guatemala Elders Council in Mayan priesthood. So he wrote this book, and he helps us understand the Mayan prophecies and relate them to what we're going through today. This particular prophecy that we're going to talk about today is so relatable to this week's theme and the new moon, especially because we can see what's happening with humanity, the increased rate of heart problems, heart attacks, again, the increased problems, like I said, in suicide and in overdoses, which is all connected to the heart chakra, which is what we're working on this week on the heart chakra. But this basically stems back to a lot of what we've been talking to in the last couple of weeks, this prophecy of Kaokan. And I'm going to share it with you right now so you understand how it impacts us. And we talked a lot about how we were abusing Mother Earth, right? And the Mayan especially understood that Mother Earth would not only respond back, but that she would basically show us the way back home to her, to basically be more conscious and mindful of how we interacted with her, because that's what the big problem is that is happening right now. And one of these things that we don't realize is like the ozone of Mother Earth that's becoming thinner and thinner because of our emotions and how we deal with the technology. There's a lot of solutions also coming down the way. One of the things that's going to be very something to watch with Saturn moving into Pisces is the water situation, and water becoming much more precious and harder to find good water. This all is very symbolic of Piscean energy and Saturnian energy turning or eliminating these old structures. But there's also a lot of solutions that I see coming down the pipeline, like free energy solutions. And like, even I heard something the other day, I think it was on a podcast. I don't even know where I heard it, but it was one of the astrologers, Pamela, I forget her last name, but she was talking about how there's a guy already who invented something that can clean all of the plastic and all of the oceans in like less than a year. So it's not, I think we think these things are impossible, but the technology that's being coming down the pipeline is so far out of this world that it's gonna collapse time, because that's what Saturn is, and Saturn is in Pisces, so Saturn is not dominant in Pisces, so it's going to be collapsed, meaning the way we experience time, no more. Even the way dreaming and astral projection, existing as multi-dimensional beings, remember, we're moving from physical beings, logical beings, to spiritual beings, frequency and vibration. All of that is changing. So there is somebody who invented already this machine or device to clean all of the plastic and all of the oceans in less than a year. So there's a lot of great stuff that's also happening, right? But in respect to how we've respected Mother Earth or how we have not, it has been a bumpy road. I think all of us can agree. And we talked about that in the last 2 episodes, right? The lack of synchronicity between us, our behavior, and how we treat nature is causing very big problems, such as evaporation of water from the land, forest fires, and the destruction of crops. All of it is the way we have treated her and how we have mistreated her, right? And we have weakened, like I said, the ozone layer, which protects us from radiation of the sun. We've contaminated the planet. We've done a lot of things that we shouldn't be doing to her. And if you think about women, that is also very symbolic of what we've been doing to women. At one point, and the Mayans understood this. In fact, in Mayan civilization, and when I went to Palenque, there was evidence that prior to a masculine society, a matriarchal society ruled. And in fact, even when there was a masculine society, the woman played a very important role in society. She was not less than. She was very important and intuitive. And look at what is happening in the world right now. Just the way we're treating Mother Earth is the way we've treated women. But the real problem is us women, number one, treating ourselves that way. And number two, allowing people to treat us that way. And yes, I know it has a lot to do. We don't do this consciously. It has to do with the traumas, the pain that we've been under, the abuse, right? This is the patterns. We are here and we need to change. This is what we're working on in the podcast, because as above, so below. So the way Mother Earth has been raped, that's the way we're raped as women. And that's the way we allow ourselves to be raped as women. Now, Mother Earth has awakened, and now she's taking her power back. And now she's saying enough is enough, just the way women are awakening and they're saying enough is enough. Yes, I have a past, but the past doesn't define me. I am who I am today because of my past. And this is why the inner work is so important, the shadow work, because one of the things that women do the most, and I'm very guilty of this still, I learned a very hard lesson of this in this new moon, is we're very judgmental towards other women and we shame other women. Why? Because at one point we were shamed in that way. And that's why we project that out. Let them shame her and not me. That way I don't have to deal with my own shame. And it just doesn't work that way, because you'll continue to experience that shame in different meat suits and in different situations. So this prophecy of Kaokan, Carlos Barrios, he basically has traveled throughout a lot of South America, especially Guatemala. There's a specific little village there that he had to go back to learn of this prophecy. So he went back to this village to talk to a Mayan elder. And the Mayan elder basically told him about the real problem of when the problem started. And he told him about basically human beings creating a blockage of energy in Mother Earth that started a big problem, like in wars, disease, food crops dying, animals dying. It was something that was created in Mother Earth that needed to be healed and needed to be changed, because Mother Earth, she has grid lines too. And when we like drill through her, she's a sentient being, she's alive, like scientists have said this, right? So when we do these things to her, this energy which flows through her becomes disrupted, and then she responds with like earthquakes, or she'll respond with fires, or all these other things that are happening in the world right now. But this began not now. This is the Kaokan prophecy that we're talking about, that we all need to be aware of. And as above, so below. I'll explain right now. We need to change from within so we can all heal and move into this next level of a stage of humanity, which is of harmony. So he told Carlos about this energy blockage. And Carlos Barrios went back to him the second time, and he brought a map, and he said, is this the one you're talking about? And he's pointed to the Panama Canal. So the Panama Canal was constructed between 1904 and 1913, which we all know back then. There was the Great Depression. There was a lot of war. There was a lot of really crazy shit that was going down. So basically what happened is, when they built this Panama Canal, the way the water was flowing, because water is energy. Emotions are energy and motion. That's what water is. It's energy, and we use it for energy. So when they built this canal, instead of the water moving this way, it started to move us a different direction. And that is like creating a tumor in Mother Earth. And the way that is also as above, so below. And so during that time, since that time, we can trace back what that energy's been doing. So, because the energy has to travel naturally. And many actual spiritual traditions I have read have talked about how
the kundalini energy, which sits coiled at the bottom of our spine, you and I, it travels and it moves. This consciousness moves from different parts of the planet. And it was supposed to move this way. But when the Panama Canal was created, now the energy was blocked. And now the water is doing crazy stuff right there at the Panama Canal. Instead of moving this way, naturally it's going this way, which then created a lot of problems with humanity that we've started to see, and we can trace back to everything we've experienced in this world. So as above, so below, you and I are energy. We're mostly comprised of water. That's why when we have a new moon and we have a full moon, it affects us just the way the new moon and the full moon affects the tides of the ocean, makes them go higher or lower. You and I are affected emotionally. Okay, so you and I are also made up of grid lines. In fact, in Kundalini Yoga, we know there are 5 major grid lines. And these major grid lines, we work to open those channels up because they become blocked because of trauma, child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, all this other abuse that exists, right? Neglect, whether it was done consciously or unconsciously, toxic relationships, poverty, all of that is frequency and its energy and its emotions. And these energy grids, we practice specific meditation, specific breathing techniques, specific ways we position our hands, because Kundalini Yoga is the science of energy. And when we practice these techniques, these energy grid lines, there's 5 of them, they're each connected to a major organ. So like if you're having a problem with your kidney, there's a specific meditation, breathing technique, or kriya. This is what we call a recipe of things you do to get a result of your body, mind, and spirit that actually heals the liver or heals the pancreas or the heart, or it's a perfect recipe. What Kundalini Yoga is. It's precise, it's exact. You don't have to believe it, you have to practice it, and you just have to let it do its work. So just the way Mother Earth has been ravished through this very clear prophecy of what we've been shown, we have been ravaged as women, especially. So your trauma, your child abuse, your sexual abuse, your a divorce that you haven't healed from, your lack of love from your mom who couldn't give it to you because she never received it. See, all of those things, you're not the first one in your lineage to get them. These are patterns. That's why when we go to traditional therapy or we take a pill, we're just numbing and putting a Band-Aid and talking about what is going on. That's not going to change the pattern. All the abuse and neglect and all these things that the anxiety, the nervous system instabilization, your nervous system was regulated in your mama's womb and hers in her mama's womb. So you have these patterns that now in this new age of Aquarius, you have tools like Kundalini Yoga, tantric practices to change the pattern. Because if you don't change the pattern, then you're going to continue to experience the same life that they did and that you've been experiencing all of your life, right? So we have to heal the energy grid lines, just the way in Mother Earth. So what Carlos Barrios was tasked to do was to gather a lot of spiritual teachers so that they could do specific spiritual ceremonies. And that's what they've been doing a lot in in these particular areas. But it takes all of us, is what he's saying, to mindfully and consciously envision this grid line of Mother Earth, especially in the Panama Canal, coming back together. But what it also was going to take for us to move into this age of harmony now, today, is for you to heal your grid lines in all those areas where you have not forgiven, where you are depressed, where you are anxious, where you have not faced your biggest fear. You have to go within through the practice of meditation, and you have to install a brand new program. And this is where Kundalini Yoga, so like one of the things I shared last week in my stories is so powerful that I heard was quantum physics proves that when you say something, that frequency travels to the utmost star and changes the chemical frequency of the star's outer edge. So imagine the words you're saying, the impact that they're doing in your life, what you're saying about yourself. And even more powerfully, I chant sacred sound frequency every day. So Kundalini yoga is a science of energy. There's a lot of chanting involved because these are science of sounds that basically create a specific result in your body, mind, and in your spirit. So when I chant these mantras, imagine if it's changing the outer edge reality of a star, imagine what it's doing to your DNA and to your subconscious mind. But also on the flip side, if you're someone that's constantly talking bad about yourself and about others, imagine what it's doing to your molecular structure. That's why you have so much anxiety. That's why you're always nervous. Because if you're constantly judging yourself and others and you're speaking these words out, this is a frequency that is impacting not only you, but lineage before and after. So it's very easy to understand how these practices of Kundalini yoga is like you insert a brand new sound frequency. So now you don't have to repeat the pattern of your ancestors. And when you think about A Course in Miracles, I mean, let's talk a little bit about that. Because A Course in Miracles is spiritual psychotherapy on steroids. And this week, if you sign up to my newsletter, veronicabarraganiam.com/disruptor, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about this particular lesson in A Course in Miracles, or this quote, or this part or piece in A Course in Miracles. Because what it is, it's like a meditation that brings you back to the truth of love. But this particular section in A Course in Miracles, it reminds you of the truth of the essence of who you are, instead of all these stories you tell yourself that you think you are. The problem we have is that we're not aware of those stories. We don't do the inner work to bring awareness, to stop the pattern. We're afraid to face those things. I get it. But we continue to stay on these patterns when we don't realize what the truth is. This lesson is so beautiful. It's one of those lessons you just open up and you read it, and it's a meditation that grounds you really quickly. The lesson says, it's lesson 267. My heart is beating in the peace of God. And I'll tell you what, when you're in a moment of despair, in a moment of complete disconnection, in a moment of life is unfair to me, it is hard to say these words and to like not get triggered. But the more that you do it, it becomes a reflex, and it becomes a relic, which is a tool to help ground yourself back into the truth and into the present moment awareness. These are tools that all of us need in order to be successful, because we are a society that have been trained from separation from God, that we're being punished by God, right? So we think that, yes, we as human beings, we created that Panama Canal that is distorting energy and is creating a lot of negative responses from Mother Earth, as we can all see with these earthquakes and all the things that we were seeing. And yes, perhaps in your own personal life, somebody came and built a canal. Maybe there was a trauma, an obstruction of your privacy. But we have to make a decision now, because we have the tools. We have the tools to fix the Panama Canal now, spiritually, physically, and mentally. We have the tools and solutions to clean Mother Earth up, like the water plastic solution that I was just sharing with you, free energy, all of that is coming up. But we also have the tools and solutions to heal ourselves, to heal our energy grid lines, and they're not a pharmaceutical. I really want to get that out. What we are living right now is the after effect of what doctors did, which was prescribing thousands of antidepressants a day to people. That became their crutch. And now there's this documentary on Netflix, which, man, kudos to any of you who are going through the process of like trying to let go of pharmaceuticals, because there's this whole documentary on Netflix right now about pills and how even trying to get off of them, how people have nearly become suicidal just trying to get off of them and being on them, the rippling effect of what it's doing to the brain. You wonder why all of a sudden you see people committing suicide that you thought looked normal on the outside world. Well, let's scan their brain and let's see what their brain looks like. And then let's really associate what was the cause of the brain deterioration. And I can tell you that we are living the aftermath of the abuse of pharmaceutical drugs. And here's the sad part, that the therapist on this movie was talking about how most of the clients she's seeing right now, it's not even about writing the antidepressant. They all have it. They all have the Xanax and all those other things. They're coming out to her to help them get off of it. And here's the sad part. Johnson and Johnson and all these other pharmaceutical companies created things like this fentanyl, like the painkillers or these antidepressants. Before they even created these antidepressants, there's evidence that they knew what was going to happen. They knew people were going to become seriously addicted because people trust their doctors. That's one of the things that's going to fall apart in this new age of Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius, Saturn and Pisces, less and less trust with the pharmaceuticals and with doctors. So they knew that they were going to get addicted. So before they even released the drug, they had already created another drug to then help people get off of it. So now they made money in people's addiction to the drug, as well as now they're going to make money on helping them get off of it. Holy shit. That to me just is so sickening. But the more that we talk about this, the more that we get it out, the more people will understand and hopefully seek out help so that they can be once again grounded in their bodies and grounded in their heart spaces, which is the big problem, right? Our ancestors, the Mayans, talk about the connection that needs to happen with our heart spaces and with our brains. But if we're constantly putting a band-aid on what we're feeling, what we're going through, and I get it, I have my own ways. It's not just pharmaceuticals. It's either alcohol, there's drugs, there's cannabis, there's food, there's sex. There's a lot of different ways, right? That we just don't deal with our emotions, right? But the problem is this disconnection from a heart space to brain. And the biggest problem is this lack of healing from our heart chakra. And that's what we're going to be working on this week, because in order to heal the grid lines in Mother Earth, we have to be more compassionate with ourselves and with humanity, right? The age of Aquarius, in order to care about what we are doing to Mother Earth, right? And that goes back to us. We have to, in order to be able to be compassionate with Mother Earth, or even compassionate with our brother and sister, to truly do the work of forgiveness, because compassion is a science. Buddhism is very focused on the science of compassion. In order to do that, we have to learn to be compassionate with ourselves. And to be compassionate with ourselves, what does that take? It takes us learning to be with our suffering. You have to learn to be with your own suffering in order to learn to be with the suffering of others and not take it on. We can't have the excuse of being empaths and say, they're suffering, so now I'm suffering too. No, I'm strong. I hold space for you. I see you because I've seen my suffering and I've been with my own suffering. So we learn to have compassion with ourselves. That means doing the inner work of meditation so that we could have more stable nervous systems and heal our brains from the trauma. And that's how we connect back our brain and heart, which is what we're doing in the podcast. And on Wednesday, I'm going to be sharing with you a very powerful meditation, a kundalini yoga meditation, specifically for the heart chakra, to heal our heart chakra. I'm going to be sharing with you more information about what the heart chakra actually is, why it's so important for us to actually learn to do the work of releasing the blockages in this particular grid line, and how this is going to help us really fulfill the prophecy of Kaokan, which is connection back, not only in Mother Earth, but starting with ourselves, healing our grid lines of emotions so that that can be passed down through our generations, and it can be also happening in the outer world, because as above, so below, right? Pharmaceuticals are very, very problematic. They really are, and I've been quiet for way too long, but it's a big problem. And especially like the generation like of my parents, they're just so trusting and they don't understand. They were created to be used just when you needed one. But the problem is that they're incredibly highly addictive, right? And because they're highly addictive, it's very easy to fall into the trap of needing them. And again, there's so many sad stories in that documentary. There's a story also of somebody who uses them and who she's actually pretty young though, so I guess she hasn't used them long enough, but she says that they changed her life and it's helped her tremendously. But we're not also telling the other stories. I think people really need to understand that the reason people are committing high rates of suicide more now is we have more usage of them, and people don't understand that one of the side effects of pharmaceuticals, especially antidepressants, is suicide. thoughts. And people that, when they go through that, it's a moment of just complete collapse, and that has to do with your brain. And so when we're not realizing that, that's when it can get really, really dangerous. And again, this energy in Saturn and Pisces is going to wake up more and more people. There's also going to be a lot more, as you can see, solutions for us. So this is not a doomsday type of conversation, because a lot of the solutions that are coming down the pipeline are permanent solutions to these mental health problems. But there's no shortcuts. There's no magic pills. You have to really do the inner work. And the inner work, especially that I teach, it's preventive medicine. So many of the women that come into my academy, they have been very committed to the inner work. They follow the steps in my academy. They follow my mentorship and my coaching. They show up for themselves. They do the inner work. So by the end of 8 weeks, you know, they're not their own worst enemy anymore. They're very aware of the thoughts that have plagued them and how to transmute them. They're not victims. That's one of the big things. Like, in order for you to really do this inner work, you have to be really self-aware, and you have to get off the victim mentality and stop blaming the world for all of your problems. Stop blaming witchcraft. Stop blaming society, the government, your parents. Like, if you have that attitude, this inner work is going to be very difficult for you, because you're not going to be willing to like truly face yourself. But if you're courageous and you're ready to like cut the bullshit and end the victim's mentality, and to truly like do what it takes to change the patterns of toxicity, of abuse, of all of the things that you're going through, then the academy is really, really, really powerful. A lot of the women that join say it's going down the rabbit hole and really learning how to take their power back very, very quickly, and a lot more quicker than I said, like with like traditional therapy, right? The talking about it is great, but that's not going to get you anywhere if you don't implement a new sound frequency or a new thought system, a new vibration of what you are projecting out into the world, not what it has happened to you. Inner work requires total commitment, 1,000%, 1,000%. And that's where mentorship and coaching really does help. And having a community of other badass women that are doing the inner work is so powerful, because they don't come as victims anymore. Like the women, we were just talking about this, like they're celebrating huge wins. Like one of the women that joined me, she made a affirmation when she first joined. So many different things were happening in her life that were just like, again, that whole victim mentality, like, oh my God, everyone's against me. When she joined the academy, she said it out loud, and she was even scared to say it out loud, because it's the self-worth, right? But she was like, no, I'm not only am I going to heal, but I'm also going to be working with top luxury clients. That's what I'm going to be doing. And when she said it, I know she hesitated, but all of us were like, fuck yeah, like you're gonna kick ass, we're so proud of you, you know. And so she did the inner work, and she's a woman that shows up to sadhana every morning, meditation every morning, and she's always hard on herself, because she's like, oh, I only do it for 11 minutes, or sometimes I'm not like all there, and it doesn't matter. Like, you're there, you showed up. She shows up to coaching. She's very committed in my eyes, but we're always so hard on ourselves, right? And fast forward to this week, and she was just sharing with us like, oh my God, I can't believe it's actually happening. She's working with high-end luxury clients. Everything else in her life has completely transformed. I mean, everything, relationship with children, relationship with husband, with significant other, everything. And a lot of it, you would think, oh, only for the better, but she had to do a lot of scraping and getting rid of people and setting boundaries. And so it wasn't like, I think we just see these people already like you see her now at the beautiful top of one mountain, because she still has a lot of mountains to climb, but you didn't see what she did to get there. And I did, and our community did. And our community supported her through all of this. And now to see that flourishment is out of this world. So most of us don't join coaching or a community because we're actually afraid of accountability. We're afraid to be seen. It's sad. We think that it's, we're ready to everyone to see us, but we're actually afraid of the success. We're afraid of what happens when I am healed. So this new moon, really ask yourself those questions to say, what is really blocking me? And ultimately, if you're really courageous, it's going to point you back to you. But also you get to a point like right now, we're celebrating wins. We're not fixing anything any longer. We're celebrating ourselves. We're looking, because we're aware of our shadows, shadow work, we're also able to celebrate our wins and our light without having to feel like we're too much or not enough for anyone. Because in the polarity, like I was just sharing with you all, me experiencing these incredible highs in Sedona last week, and then coming back and experiencing that incredible low of losing family members, transitioning, that they passed away, 2 of them in such a short time. I learned that you have to be very polarizing yourself too. Meaning you have to stop trying to be a people pleaser. You have to stand for something, stand for your truth. You have to understand that not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. And when you get so comfortable in your skin, you give others the permission to do the same. But when you do it in a way where you're not judging others, demeaning others, or making others feel like they have to be like you in order to hang out with you too. And that's another hard lesson that I also learned this week too, which wasn't so fun. It humbled me, where I needed to stop being so judgmental myself too. So we have a lot of pathways to heal the heart right now. We have this practice of kundalini yoga, cacao. I want to remind everyone, literally it is the relic. Cacao is, I wish I had it here next to me, but I put it next to my sacred crystals downstairs. I bought the cacao that I'm going to be using for the cacao ceremony on Saturday in Paradise Valley, which my husband and I are hosting. But today being the new moon in Pisces, we're going to be praying and putting it under the new moon, just for the energy of setting these intentions of healing for those that are going to join us on Saturday, which I'm super excited about. But pure ceremonial cacao has always been harvested and done ethically by the indigenous people, especially the Mayan ancestors. And this was always a very important medicine for the heart chakra. And the Mayan actually understood that cacao, which is a beautiful plant, I actually ate it raw, and it's a trip because the lady told me, do you want me to put chile and limon on it? Which is, my mouth is already watering, which is like, chile is like pepper in English, right? And lemon on it, and a little bit of salt. And I was like, how? Because I've always drank cacao as chocolate, like a chocolate drink. And the plant, you open it up and it almost looks like a lobster. And you take a seed out of there, and she put lemon and chile on it, and it actually was amazing. It tasted so good. You don't eat the seed, you kind of just suck on it and suck on the outer skin. But just that, like, I was walking around and just eating it in this beautiful place that's called Las Cascadas de Azules. It's in Chiapas, right next to Palenque. This is one of the places where I'm going to be taking all of the people that go on our retreat with us. But just walking and eating it was like so relaxing, and it just mellowed me out so much. And those are the effects of this beautiful medicina. It's a medicine that has been used, like I said, our ancestors for a long time, and especially for the heart. It helps physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It opens up the pathways to the heart. So imagine you're using cacao, this medicine, to clear energy from the heart, as well as you're using kundalini yoga, which is the technology. Kundalini yoga is actually the technology of the heart opening also. Together, this is exactly what we're going to be doing on Saturday in our ceremony. So if you haven't signed up for that, there's still some space left for that. This is on the 25th, Saturday, February 25th, in Paradise Valley. You can actually go to the link in my website, Veronica Barragan, I am /Cacawa. And these are events, like I said, that my husband and I are going to be putting on together. And he actually is going through his own journey right now of becoming a certified hypnotherapist, and especially working with like trauma. So he's going to be working a lot with like men and coaching men and through hypnotherapy and music for their own healing journeys. But we are going to come together and create events together where we are working together and helping many people disrupt ancestral karmic patterns through the practices of Kundalini yoga, sound therapy. He is an advocate and just passionate about music. He's always loved music as a little boy even, but in the last few years, I would say in the last 10 years, he's been really devoted to healing music. So the flute, I love the way he plays the flute and the sound, the healing bowl behind me, guitar, he does the ukulele, and he's learning to practice like the Mayan trumpet right now, or play the Mayan trumpet, but he's just very musically inclined. So together we're going to be hosting this event on Saturday, February 25th, and it really will be a psychedelic experience of experiencing your own divinity and connecting back your heart and chakra. And eventually we will be moving, many of you, especially some of my community members, they're throughout the nation. They're not just here in Arizona, some are in California, some are in the East Coast. I mean, they're like all spread throughout. So eventually we will be bringing these events to different parts of the nation and different parts of the world. And like I said, stay tuned for our retreat. We are hosting a retreat with the Temazcal ceremony with our Mayan ancestor teachers coming up in the solstice as well. So there's just so much that is finally coming into alignment. There was a lot of healing work that him and I had to do to get here. So we're just really excited to just finally step into our power and to be able to share these gifts with all of you. But if you're not here in Paradise Valley this weekend, then just stay tuned and make sure you sign up to my newsletter, because you'll be the first one to know where the next event is going to be. And like I said, on Wednesday, if you join me live on YouTube around 12 p.m., just set your notifications and subscribe, because usually around 12ish is what I'll try to do, is come on live. But I'll be sharing with you a specific Kundalini yoga meditation for the heart chakra. So we're going to be talking about the heart chakra, working with this meditation for the heart chakra to help you ground yourself as we move through this new moon energy. And remember, we're working on a chakra each week so we can bring union to the brain and to the heart as we are being guided to do so by our Mayan ancestors. Would have loved to go to this Saturday event. We're going to miss you. Anything planned for March around the full moon? You know what? Great question. I do have an event planned for March, but it is going to be for the equinox, which is even more powerful. That's going to be on March 20th, and it is going to be in Phoenix for sure. So I will let you know. I'm actually collaborating with another one of my beautiful sisters as well, someone that I love and respect and admire dearly. And we're going to be putting on an event together. Save the date right now, March 20th, and it's going to be in Phoenix. So I'll send you the details of that as well. And we are definitely going to try to keep these to a monthly physical in-person events. Like I said, just the locations are going to vary as we move throughout the year, but I'm really pumped and excited for that as well. And of course, to get all the latest information on all of that, just sign up for my newsletter. It's a lot easier to be notified first, because a lot of these events are very intimate. Like, one of the things that's so important, especially if you're part of ceremony, is not to have like thousands of people. If you're doing ceremony, I usually cut it down to like 15 people. And the reason that is because I'm holding space. I'm very grateful that my husband is there with me in this event, but we are holding space for an entire room. So yes, I can hold a lot of space for a Kundalini yoga class, but when you combine it, like actually with a ceremony, you want to have a really sacred, intimate setting, because you're actually exchanging energy with the people that come there. So like, I'm really excited to see the universe conspire and who's going to be there, because they're going to be a very important element of the entire experience. So it is a pretty intimate setting. And like I said, there are still a few tickets that are left there as well. I love to sit in a ceremonial container that you hold space for. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Grass Dancer. I would love for you to be there as well. I think we would be great energy in the room together for sure. And that's what really excites me, getting back into the physical events. You know, like, I love my virtual community. We are creating ripples of frequency in the entire universe. Absolutely. Like this morning, we had sadhana. So like every morning we have sadhana for the academy. And this morning after sadhana, we got so into it, talking about the new moon and what everybody was going through. I swear to you, and like, you don't have to stay if you don't want to, but we talked for like 2 hours after sadhana. Like, I looked at my clock and I was like, oh my God, what time is it? We went into this vortex. And all of us were just like sharing all of this like powerful like information that related to all of us in one way or another. So like being part of my virtual community is sacred, because every morning I can come to my computer and I can open it up and they're there. But also the in-person events are very important too, because we really need to start working towards these prophecies and making them even more and more powerful. So if you'd like to more information also about my virtual community, then you can go, of course, to the link in my bio, veronicabarraganiam.com/, that one. You can go to SWA and you'll find out more about the academy and my community. Yaya says it was amazing. Thank you, Maida, for contributing so much this morning. Holy shit, that was crazy. It was really, really powerful, really powerful. Raquel says, I love our virtual community. She's here. Okay, so Raquel and I are going to be hosting an event together. I'm so glad you're here, sister. I'm just going to let the cat out of the hat since they asked already. But we are hosting an event on March 20th together. And I just recently went to one of Raquel's events in January. Oh my God, sister. Oh, she did a beautiful breathing workshop, Kundalini breathing workshop in Phoenix. Holy shit. I went with my sisters and my friend, and oh my God, it was amazing. So amazing. And so we go to lunch at least once a month, or breakfast. We try to get together once a month because I really admire this woman from the bottom of my heart. She is a powerhouse in every way, shape, and form. And we were just talking and we're like, we need to do an event together. And I was like, yes, we need to do an event together. And so we are posting this event together on March 20th. So just stay tuned on the location. We'll start to talk a lot more about it after we move through these events this weekend, because we have a lot already on our plate. So just hold on to your horses, ladies. We'd love for you to join us, of course, if you're in the Arizona area. Maida says, we loved your class, Raquel. Agree with Vero. Yes, it was amazing. So amazing. Class was fire. Pure bliss. So yes, come experience the magic of Kundalini yoga with us for sure. So save the date. And like I said, I will make sure that you all get updated as we finalize the location and all that. But the March equinox, which is coming up on the 20th, it's actually the 21st on a Monday, but we're holding the event the day before. That is like the most important day of your entire life to meditate, like to do the inner work. If you really want to disrupt ancestral karmic patterns, you want to make sure that you're doing the inner work on that day. And like I said, with all of these big cosmic changes that are happening next month, this is the month for you to really start on a practice that you can commit to, that you can really say yes to as it relates to your spiritual practice, and that practice that's going to take you within, sovereign, committed, in conviction of your authentic truth, and not afraid to go out there and share your beautiful light, because that's exactly what we're here to do. So thank you, ladies, so much for your beautiful energy. Thank you for sharing. And like I said, I'll be back on Wednesday. Find me on YouTube at Veronica Barragan, just like that. I actually was able to steal it when they became available. At Veronica Barragan on YouTube, Wednesday, noonish. We're going to be practicing this meditation for the heart chakra. And then I'll take you through what the heart chakra actually is. Have a blessed rest of your new moon in Pisces. Sat Nam.